Hi again, welcome to Overload Part 2, and let's start our video with the game of Nilsson against Cotronius. Here we have a very nice example of overload again. White has an extra pawn and it seems that White has pretty safe position for the king as the bishop on f2 defends all the pawns here and defends also the king a little bit. But actually this bishop is overloaded to defend both squares e3 and g3. So let's see how black uses that. Knight e3, a direct use of the overload over the bishop to opens up the file for the rook also, and there will be a fantastic attack on the king side. So bishop e3 was played in the game, otherwise white just loses the material because knight e3 there is a double attack on the queen and on the rook. So bishop e3, rook g3 and king f2, which is actually the only move because after king h1 there is rook h3. Also it is possible to win the queen with queen h4 check, queen h2 is the only move and rook h3. But I think that rook h3 leads to the mate because after king g1 and queen h4 there is no good defense for rook h1 mate. So after rook g3, king f2 was played in the game, but this loses the material because after rook g2, king f3, black wins the queen on c2, rook c2 and queen h4. It's not so difficult to win this position because white king is in the center and very unsafe. Also black has an extra queen, so after rook g1, which was played in the game, there is another possibility to defend the pawn on a4, but after rook c4, queen g4, king f2. Now the piece which is not actually in play comes into play. The bishop e7, king e1, bishop h4, king d2 and queen g2 simply lost for white. So after queen h4, rook g1 and simple rook a4, knight c3, rook c4, king e2 was played in the game, but after bishop h6, which is a very nice last tactic, because after bishop h6 there is queen h2 and black is winning the rook on g1 or on c2. So after bishop h6, bishop b6, rook e4, white just resigned. Knight e4 is no good because of queen e4, and again queen d1 is not possible because of queen d3, and white again loses the rook on c2. So let's move on, and we have the game Fischer against Neidich. Very nice position again for black. The rook on c2 is pretty stuck because the bishop on a3 is very good controlling the squares around the rook, and the bishop on c3 can be pretty weak. as well as the bishop on d3. But so far, the queen on h3 is defending the bishop on d3, as well as at the same time defends the square on g4, which actually means that the queen on h3 is overloaded. That's why black makes the use of it right away and directly and plays knight g4. Knight g4 has direct threats. Knight f2 will be disaster for white. And in the game, white decided to play knight b1, because if white takes queen g4, then after bishop d3, white's rook has no moves. It cannot move anywhere to a safe place, and it's simply lost for white. So after knight g4, knight b1, white tries somehow to attack the bishop on a3, and black played here knight f2. It was also possible actually to play bishop d6, because after queen g4, bishop d3, queen e6, king h8, rook d2, there is bishop b1, rook b1, and black again wins the piece. But I think that it's not the easiest way to win the game. So knight f2 wins the game pretty much on spot. After rook f2, knight a3, which was the idea for white, but still the bishop on c3 is hanging. So after rook c3, bishop h7, king h7, and rook c3, there is a very nice blow in the center with e5. D takes e5 and queen g6. So this was the idea of e5 to open up the 6th rank for the queen and attack the pawn on g2 right away. And after rook g1, black is completely winning. After bishop d3, we see that the knight on a3 is very much stuck, because the bishop on d3 controls all its squares. So somehow white decided to play queen c5. e6 is no good here, because there is a threat after bishop d3. Queen g2, rook g2, rook f1, sorry, rook g1, and bishop e4. Queen f3, bishop f3 mate. So even after queen c5, now there is no queen g2 because of rook g2, rook f1, and white goes queen g1 and will be material up. Black just took rook a2, and there are no good moves for white here. If, for example, queen e3 or something like this, then the knight is hanging on a3, and if h3, just to make a move, then there is a bishop e4, and white cannot defend the pawn on g2 and will be completely lost. So in the game was played queen d6, and after queen g2, white resigned. And let's see our last example. Very nice game, Fedorchuk against Krivonosov. Now we have to pay attention here to the back rank and to the queen on d7, which is actually busy to defend the rook on e8. here there was unexpectedly very nice move, knight c5. The idea of knight c5 is that it opens up the e-file, and after d takes c5 or b takes c5, which doesn't matter, there is a move queen f5. A very nice sacrifice again, using the idea that the queen is very busy to defend the e8 rook. So after queen f5 there is a mate in 2 on back rank. And if queen goes somewhere else, which is only square a4, then after b3 he anyway loses the material and white is completely winning. I hope you enjoyed the examples and learned a lot of things. See you soon next time!